Hey, it's September 11th, 2025, 10:46 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just a quick stock market review about what happened today. So we made a very good push to the all-time highs for SPY, and also QQQ made a new all-time high today. So um, everything checks off what I had anticipated actually for this market. The thing that the CPI that came out pre-market, I laid out two scenarios in my last video. First scenario is if we gap down from the data that's released, then I would expect that gap to fill and rally higher. And if the CPI data resulted in a gap up, I expected it to gap fill after open and rally higher. So either way, we were expecting to go higher, and we did. May not played out exactly how I wanted it to play out, but we rallied higher and higher. So right now, what I have on my screen is the daily, and as you can see, we are pushing beyond the upper Bollinger Band on the SPY. And volume wise, it's showing elevated volume, but just not high enough to look into shorting, and also uh, not high enough to result in a candle pattern that I like to see, a shooting star pattern, and also not finishing red. So even though it's elevated volume, I don't see a full out full port short right now in the market. And given today's price action, as we rallied higher, I expected the skew to close today around 156 or higher, but the skew actually dropped back down. So what does that mean? The skew dropping that back down means no one's really buying any puts, and that's kind of concerning for the bears. So since skew is back down to 147 today, I expect this to rally higher. And so going into tomorrow, Friday, I expect it to go for new all-time highs again. And if you look at all the other individual tickers, individual tech stocks like Apple, Microsoft, Meta, a lot of these are not even rallying. Can you just imagine if those rally? You know how high QQQ would rally? We saw today that QQQ actually stalled out a bit. It did not make a new high into the close, whereas SPY did into the close. And I mean high as in new intraday high of day. So SPY did make a new all-time high at 658, whereas Q actually did not. So interestingly enough, I see this as a slight divergence, and I actually took a very super high lotto for SPY. And the reason why I got a short lotto or puts contract for expiry of Monday for SPY 65, no, 650 level strike for about 64 cents. So I entered one of those for a super lotto, expecting to get around a $1.5 return. But obviously I'll let those go to zero, and it's a super lotto. And the reason why I entered that is because today, as we rallied higher and higher, and at around 11:35, the ADD index actually showed me that we've hit the overbought condition at 1800. And so I was watching it, and I wasn't seeing a lot of strength, and I'm not seeing a lot of buying that would have resulted in the ADD to push beyond the 2000 level. And if it did, then I would have not touched any of the shorts, because if it did, that means that we're trending up higher and higher. So I didn't feel very, very good about this short that I'm entered. Because when ADD does hit the 1800, which is oversold, it doesn't usually play out immediately. It does sometimes, but it's not as immediate as when we go the other way, where the ADD gets oversold at the minus 1800 level. Reactions are quick. You could hold on to a couple of calls, a couple days out, probably 2 days out, 3 days out. Usually get right in the money, and you get a nice return. But for overbought conditions, the sell off may not even happen. You might even get continuous rips. And if it does happen, it usually gets delayed for a few days. And that's a result of a bull market, right? Not a lot of people are, not a lot of the market's willing to let go. Not a lot of the algorithms are willing to sell. So that's why I kept the position very, very small, hoping that if it does sell, it would sell pretty rapidly and probably due to bad news over the weekend. So that's why I took it to Monday instead of Friday, or else theta would have been burned pretty bad. But yeah, I think tomorrow we're actually going to go way higher. If I were to just pick a point of retracement, I probably see this going as high as, I want to say probably the 6640, no, 664 level, 664 level. Yeah, I would say before any reaction. But I think Q has to make a new all-time high as well, like a higher new all-time high as well, before we see some sort of short reaction. So that's pretty much it. Any short-term watches, I believe I mentioned Coin and Hood were good short candidates. So this is Hood on the daily. It's a potential short, but I don't see a daily volume bar justifying a short, so I wouldn't touch it yet. Another short I would say is Roblox, probably a good decent short. An elevated daily volume candle, you sort of have a weak close, and we also wicked above the upper Bollinger Band. Probably a good short candidate here again. Would I touch it? Maybe, depending on how tomorrow goes. If I do, probably pick a strike around 125 puts 2 weeks out. Not sure how much those cost. Probably pretty hefty. Microsoft still lagging behind, still dragging the Qs down. I wouldn't touch this at all. Leave this be. Nothing close to any extremes to buy any puts or calls. Apple, same thing. We kind of found support, but we're still in the middle of no man's land. So I would not touch this either. Tesla, Friday. Oh boy. I was so wrong about Tesla puts. You could kind of tell by these 4 straight days of support at the 345 level. I think I mentioned that in my last video. Once we found that support, it just ripped today. And tomorrow, like I said, it broke the 368 level, which is the previous high. And I think tomorrow, given it's a Friday, if we're feeling really, really bullish, I think we're probably going to hit the 378 level or something tomorrow. But we'll see. We'll see how tomorrow opens. We do have consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Usually that doesn't really move the market much, but in January, I think a couple of those consumer sentiment actually reported pretty badly and actually triggered a sell-off. So let's see what maybe that would happen tomorrow. That's something that I would hope would happen. But by the looks of the skew, looks of all the other stocks, we're looking to go way higher. So if you see any people on X posting about, oh, the market's way oversold or way overbought, we're due for a pullback. What is it? The Warren Buffett indicator is like at all-time highs. Civil war may happen. What else? There's war in the Europe. I'm just trying to come up with as many excuses that I've seen on X that would make all the bears all jittery, thinking that we're gonna sell off. It's not gonna happen. We're in a bull market. We're gonna continue to keep grinding higher and higher unless there is a huge hedge that happens, which is when the skew index hits about 180 or above. So we'll see how tomorrow transpires. I hope everyone enjoys these videos. I will actually start releasing them probably pre-market open tomorrow, just so that everyone is awake and probably wants to listen to this before the market opens. So I'll probably release this tomorrow. Well, I'll probably release it after today. After this recording. So yeah, I will report back tomorrow. Cheers.